What's going on, Yu-Gi-Oh fans? Trav here with Chaotic Strategies, and today we're coming at you yet again with another fantastic deck profile. If you guys are new to the channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, that little notification bell, so that way you guys are always notified when I post new content. Today we're going to be going over a Cyberse deck profile. This is going to be pretty much revolved around Code Talkers. This is my buddy Austin's deck profile. I've done a couple other decks of his on this channel, so we're going to go ahead and do another one. Again, this is his Code Talker profile, and this thing is just absolutely nasty. It's a pain to get around, especially when he's able to get off the extra link. It's just a nightmare. The whole thing with this deck revolves around getting your Code Talkers out, and then your Code Talkers not being able to be targeted or destroyed by card effects. It's absolutely brutal. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into this profile. Alright, so to start things off, he is running 2 Parallel Exceeds. Okay, this is kind of one of the newer cards that came out for Cyberse. If this card is special summoned by the effect of Parallel Exceeds, its level becomes 4 and its original attack and defense become halved. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you link summon, you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone the link monster points to. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 Parallel Exceeds from your deck. This is all around fantastic card. Running 1 D-grade Buster. It cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 2 Cyberse monsters from the graveyard. You can target 1 monster your opponent controls with higher attack than this card. Banish it until the end phase. You can only use this effect once per turn. Again, another fantastic card. Then we're running 1 Link Slayer. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards, then target that many spells and traps on the field and destroy them. So that's a fantastic card, especially if you end up having to go second. 1 Clock Wyvern. If he's normal or special summoned, you can have his attack, and if you do, you can special summon a Clock token, which is also going to be a Cyberse level 1 with a 0/0 attack defense. You can only use that once per turn. So going first, if this card's in your hand, you can at least get set up with another Cyberse token and then move into your links from there. Running 2 Lady Debugs. If she's normal or special summoned, you can add a level 3 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand. 1 Balancer Lord. This is a fantastic card. Once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points during your main phase. You can normal summon 1 Cyberse monster in addition to your normal summoner set. And you can only use that effect once per turn. And then if this card is banished, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your hand. We're in 1 Code Radiator. If a Cyberse monster you control would be used as link material for a Code Talker monster, this card in your hand can also be used as well. So it's fantastic that you can link summon without actually having this card on the field. You can use this card directly from your hand to get into your links. This card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a Code Talker. You can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, change its attack to 0, also negate its effects. If this card on the field was used as material, you can target 2 monsters instead. You can only use the effect once per turn. So the Code Radiator just all around is a nasty card, and really I'm surprised he's only running 1. You know, if I were him, I could kind of mix it around a little bit. There's a lot of different play in this deck that you can utilize and run 2 of those. That effect is just nasty. He's running 1 Cyberse Gadget. When this card is normal summoned, you can target 1 level 2 or lower monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense, but its effects are negated. This card is sent from the field to the graveyard. You can special summon 1 Gadget token, and you can only use that effect once per turn. So again, making Cyberse tokens to keep cruising on with the links. Then he's running 3 Widget Kids, which is kind of the staple here in the main deck. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon 1 Cyberse monster from your hand in defense position, and you can only use that effect once per turn. So going first, you really want to see Widget Kid in your hand, and that way you can really start flooding into your links very quickly just off of this 1 card. So using 2 Code Generators. So if a Cyber monster you control will be used as a link material for a Code Talker monster, this card in your hand can also be used as material as well. So a lot of the same effect as Code Radiator. If this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a Code Talker, you can send one Cyberse monster with 1200 or less attack from your deck to the graveyard, or if this card is on the field used as material, you can add that card to your hand instead. So again, just awesome effects. Running 2 backup secretaries. If you control a Cyberse monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon backup secretary once per turn this way, so that's really awesome because everything in this deck is going to be Cyberse. Run 2 Cyberse Converter. If all monsters you control are Cyberse monsters, minimum 1, you can special summon this card from your hand, again like backup secretary. You can only special summon Converter once per turn this way, and when this card is normal summoned, you can target one face-up monster you control. It becomes a Cyberse monster till the end of this turn. Running 3 Profibit Snake. This is a fantastic card, and honestly, this is I would probably go down to 2 with this and run a second Radiator. At the start of the damage step, if your Cyberse Link monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, return that opponent's monster to the hand. When your Cyberse monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle and send it to the graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one card from your graveyard, then target one level 4 or lower Cyberse monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn. So fantastic effect. I mean, Profibit Snake is just an amazing card, especially in this deck. But again, I think, in my opinion, I think 3 is a little much. I would much rather have the effect of Code Radiator. So dropping that down to 2 and putting Radiator up to 2 would probably be a good bet. But it works very well the way he has this set up right now. Running 1 Link Infra Flyer. You can special summon this card from your hand to your zone a Link monster points to. You can only special summon him that way once per turn. Running 1 Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one Link monster in your graveyard, special summon it to your field so it points to this card, but change its attack to 0. Also negate its effects. You cannot special summon monsters except Link monsters. If this card in its owner's control is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field and defense position, and you can only use that effect once per turn. This card is absolutely nasty when you're able to use it, especially if you're going up against a deck that's not heavy links. It's just really fantastic to slow them down getting into their extra deck. Then he's running 3 Microcoders. If a Cyberse monster you control will be used as link material for a Code Talker, you can use this card in your hand as material as well. This card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard as material for a link summon of a Code Talker. You can either add 1 Signet Spell and Trap from your deck to your hand, or if this card was on the field and used as material, you can add 1 level 4 Cyberse monster instead. Again, fantastic card. Running 1 Cyberse Synchron. Once per turn, you can target 1 level 4 or lower monster you control, increase its level by its original level until the end of this turn. If your monsters in the extra monster zone would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. And then running 1 Dotscaper. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card, and if this card is banished, you can special summon this card. You can only use 1 Dotscaper effect per turn, and only once that turn. You can only use each effect of Dotscaper once per duel. So once you use both aspects of it, you're pretty much done. But it's such a good, well-rounded card to be able to keep bringing in and out in order to get into your links. It's just an amazing card to have in this deck. Okay, going into the spells that he has in this deck, he's running 1 Gold Sarcophagus, which can't run more than that because it's limited. But you're going to banish 1 card from your deck face up, and then during your second standby phase after this card's activation, add that card to your hand. So a good target for Gold Sarcophagus is going to be like Dotscaper. If you haven't seen it already, you can banish it, then you can special summon it. Use it to go into a link play, it gets sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon it again to really continue into your links. Running 3 Called by the Grave, which we should all know what Called by the Grave does. It's pretty much one of the main hand trap stoppers. Running 3 Signet Backdoors. This is a quick effect or a quick play spell card. You're going to target 1 Cyberse monster you control, banish it, and if you do, add 1 Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand whose attack is lower than that monster's original attack. During your next standby phase, return that monster banished by this effect to the field, and it can attack directly that turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. One Cynet optimization. If your Code Talker monster battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. During your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolve normal summon one Cyberse monster. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Cyberse monsters, even if this card leaves the field. You can only use the effect once per turn. So that's a great continuous spell card, especially for this deck since everything is revolving around Code Talkers. Then he's running 3 Cynet Codec, which is also another continuous spell. If a Code Talker is special summoned from the extra deck to your field, except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters, add one Cyberse monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except of course, Cyberse monsters. Even if the card leaves the field, you cannot add other monsters with that same attribute to your hand by the effect of Cynet Codec this turn. You can only activate the effect once per chain. So you can still use it multiple times just in one turn, just not within those same chains, which is also really nice and also kind of broken for this Cyberse deck. And then for the traps, he's running 2 Cynet Conflict. When a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated while you control a Code Talker monster, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. And if you do that, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects with the same original name as that card that was banished until the end of the next turn, which is just brutal, especially when it's going up against specific archetype decks. This card will just completely ruin them for that turn, and the fact that it's also a quick play trap card is just insane. So that's the main deck, 42 cards in the main deck, just a lot of fantastic cards, and it pretty much specializes around being able to flood out your main deck to get into your links. It's just all around pretty nasty. So getting into the extra deck, he's running 1 Cyberse Quantum Dragon, which is going to be kind of one of the boss monsters in this deck. I personally absolutely hate trying to get around this card. So it is a level 7, 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. While you control a link monster, monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters you control for attack except this one. Also, your opponent cannot target monsters you control with card effects except this one. Once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return that opponent's monster to the hand. Also, this card can make a second attack in a row. Being able to bounce those cards and not having it target is brutal. In my opinion, it makes this card even more nasty to get around than like a Borreload or a Boral Sword. It's just, this card is an absolute nightmare, in my opinion, to play against, depending on what kind of deck you're playing. He's also running 1 Cyberse Integrator. If this card is synchro summoned, you can special summon 1 Cyberse Tuner from your hand or graveyard in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Cyberse monster. This synchro summon card is sent to the graveyard. You can draw 1 card, and you can only use each of those effects once per turn. 1 Boral Sword, which we all should know what Boral Sword does. It's actually a very popular card in a majority of decks anymore. Running 1 Access Code. This is one of the newer cards that got added into the Code Talker archetype. He's a Link 4, takes 2+ effect monsters. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activations. If this card is Link summoned, you can target 1 Link monster that was used as material for this Link summon. This card gains attack equal to that monster's Link rating times 1,000. Just absolutely insane. You can banish 1 Link monster from your field or graveyard, destroy 1 card your opponent controls, which is also nasty because that's not a targeted ability. And for the rest of this turn, you cannot banish monsters with the same attribute to activate this effect of Access Code Talker. Just all around brutal card. Its arrows are nasty, its effects are dirty. It was just a fantastic card that got added into this archetype. He's running 1 Encode Talker, which is a Link 3. He takes 2 or more Cyberse monsters, and once per turn before damage calculation, if your monster this card points to battles an opponent's monster with higher attack than it, you can make that monster unable to be destroyed by that battle. Also, you take no battle damage from that battle. After that battle calculation, have this card or one monster it points to gain attack equal to the attack of that battled opponent's monster till the end of this turn. We have one Shooting Code Talker. At the start of your battle phase, you can activate this effect. This battle phase, this card can make attacks on your opponent's monsters up to the number of monsters this card is currently pointing to, +1. So even if it's only pointing to one card, you still get to make 2 attacks. But this turn, when it attacks your opponent's only monster, this card loses 400 attack during the damage calculation only. At the end of each battle phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters this card destroyed by battle this turn. So not too bad. I mean, only 2,300 attack, but you know, there's other cards here that if it's co-linked, you're going to go ahead and boost that attack as well. So all around, this effect can be pretty nasty in this deck. One X-Code Talker, which is going to be another one of our key monsters to kind of get out onto the field in this deck. When this card is link summoned, you can choose unused main monster zones equal to the number of monsters currently in the extra monster zones. Those zones cannot be used while this monster is face up on the field. You can only use this effect once per turn. Monsters this card points to gains 500 attack. Also, they cannot be destroyed by card effects. So see, now we're starting to get into the effects where they can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and as long as there's 2 link monsters in the extra monster zones, you can essentially block off 2 zones on your opponent's side of the field, which is huge because that'll really slow down especially your floodgate players. 2 Transcode Talkers, while this card is co-linked and its co-linked monsters gain 500 attack. Also, your opponent cannot target any of them with card effects. You can target 1 link 3 or lower Cyberse link monster in your graveyard except Transcode, special summon it to a zone this card points to, and you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect, except of course Cyberse monsters. 1 Trigate Wizard. This card gains these effects based on the number of monsters co-linked to the card. If it's co-linked to 1, if a monster co-linked to this card battles your opponent's monster, any battle damage inflicted to your opponent is doubled. 2 or plus, so once per turn you can target 1 card on the field and banish it, and if it's connected co-linked to 3, once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. We have 1 Code Talker Inverted. If this card is link summoned, you can special summon 1 Cyberse monster from your hand to a zone this card points to. You can only use the effect once per turn. 2 Regular Code Talkers, gains 500 attack for each monster this card points to and cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects while this card points to a monster. Just absolutely busted. Or 1 Security Dragon. Once while face up on the field, if this card is co-linked, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So again, we're starting to see that bounce ability. And then also running 1 Talkback Lancer. You contribute 1 other Cyberse monster, then target 1 Code Talker monster in your graveyard with a different original name from that monster. Special summon it to a zone this card points to. You can only use this effect of Talkback Lancer once per turn. So again, all around just very brutal extra deck, especially if it pops off. One of the biggest things that I noticed, you know, the many times that I've played against Austin with this deck is once you really pop off with this deck, if it gets stopped, it's really hard to come back from. There has been several times where, you know, him and I have dueled together and I've gotten lucky and was able to stop a lot of the plays or gotten around it, and then there's just no real ability to bounce back from that once it's been stopped, which is really the only downfall of this deck. But once it gets going, especially if he starts out with a really good hand, it's virtually almost nothing to get your extra link in 1 to maybe 2 turns. If you need to, and that's what makes this deck really brutal. And the fact that once these link monsters are all set up and co-linked, a lot of them can't be destroyed by battle or destroyed or targeted by card effects. So just that within itself is very, very difficult to get around. With that being said, guys, that is our Code Talker deck profile for the MR5 format coming in at the end of July. If you guys would like to purchase any cards from this deck profile or purchase this whole deck profile, I will put a link down in the description box to TCG Player. That'll bring up the entire deck list so you can pick and choose what cards you would like to have out of this profile. And anytime you use that link, that helps support our channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button, leave us a comment, Let us know what you think. Let us know what you guys run, if you guys run Cybers or Code Talkers. That would kind of make this deck a little bit more viable. We love hearing from you guys. So with that, I hope you guys are being safe out there. Be sure to wash your hands, and we'll see you in the next video.